Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Lunar Base Alpha, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing humanity's remaining territory. The vast expanse of space that once held 37 thriving colonies had been reduced to Earth, Mars, and a handful of orbital stations. The Kraxan Empire's relentless advance had pushed humanity to the brink of extinction in just 18 months. Final casualty reports from Europa Station. Admiral Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez said, his voice heavy. 12,000 civilians. No survivors. Sarah's fingers clenched against the railing. Europa had been their last outer system stronghold, a testament to human engineering and determination. Now it was just another graveyard in space. The Kraxans' energy weapons had literally unraveled the station's atomic structure, their signature weapon that had made conventional defenses obsolete. "What's the status of the evacuation ships?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. It hadn't changed in the last hour. "At maximum capacity, we can evacuate maybe 20 million people. The Kraxan fleet will arrive in 16 days. Marcus paused, checking his tablet. "The council is meeting in an hour to discuss surrender terms." Sarah turned sharply. Surrender? To the Kraxan? The very idea was absurd. The Kraxan didn't take prisoners. They harvested civilizations for their quantum processors, breaking down entire populations into computational matrices. Death would be preferable. She was about to respond when Dr. Emily Zhang burst into the observation deck, her usually composed demeanor replaced with barely contained excitement. "Admiral, you need to see this immediately." She projected a series of scans from her quantum tablet, showing a massive structure hidden in the Kuiper belt. The object was clearly artificial, a vessel nearly 5 kilometers long with a design unlike anything human or Kraxan. Its hull seemed to absorb light itself, making it almost invisible to conventional sensors. Only the new quantum imaging arrays had detected it. "How long has this been here?" Sarah demanded. "Based on orbital decay patterns, at least 10,000 years, Emily explained. "But here's the incredible part. It's still generating power. Minimal levels, but definitely active. And the energy signature, it's orders of magnitude beyond anything we've ever seen, beyond even Kraxan tech." Sarah studied the scans, her tactical mind already racing with possibilities. "Can we reach it?" "The Starweaver is our fastest ship," Marcus offered. "With a skeleton crew, they could make it in 12 days. But Admiral, we don't even know if we could operate alien technology that advanced." Sarah's eyes remained fixed on the mysterious vessel. Humanity had always survived by taking bold risks, by refusing to accept defeat. "We don't have a choice. The Kraxan will be here in 16 days. If that ship is operational, it might be our only chance." She opened a secure channel to the council. "This is Admiral Chen. I'm declaring Emergency Protocol 7. I need immediate authorization for a special operation." She paused, knowing her next words would either save humanity or doom them faster. "I'm taking the Starweaver to recover an alien vessel. If I'm right, it might be our last hope." The council's debate was surprisingly brief. With extinction looming, even the most cautious members were willing to gamble. Within hours, Sarah had assembled her team. Dr. Zhang for xenotech analysis, Lieutenant Rodriguez for navigation, Commander Yuki Tanaka for tactical, and 15 other specialists. The best humanity had left. As the Starweaver prepared for launch, Sarah recorded one final log entry. "Humanity has always pushed boundaries, always refused to accept defeat. Whether this ancient ship becomes our salvation or our tomb, we face it together. If you're hearing this, we either succeeded beyond our wildest dreams, or we died trying to save our species. Either way, we did it our way." Chen out. The Starweaver slipped away from Earth under cover of a meteor shower, carrying humanity's last hope into the darkness of space. Behind them, the remaining human forces prepared for what might be their final stand. Ahead lay either salvation or oblivion, with no middle ground remaining. Sarah watched Earth recede through the viewport, its blue-white sphere still beautiful despite everything. Whatever they found out there in the void, she silently promised her homeworld that humanity would not go quietly into the night. They would rage against the dying of the light, and perhaps, just perhaps, they would find a way to turn that rage into salvation. The Star Weaver emerged from its final jump point at the edge of the Kuiper Belt, its quantum engines powering down to stealth mode. Through the main viewport, the ancient vessel hung against the star-speckled void like a shadow given form. Up close, its size was almost overwhelming. The ship could have housed the entire remaining human fleet in its belly. Dr. Emily Zhang's instruments were working overtime, analyzing every aspect of the mysterious vessel. "The hull material is unlike anything in our database," she reported, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. "It seems to actively bend space-time around itself. That's why our normal sensors couldn't detect it. It exists partially out of phase with normal space." "Life signs?" Sarah asked, studying the vessel's strange geometric patterns that seemed to shift when viewed directly. "None that I can detect, but there's definitely power running through the ship. The internal atmosphere is preserved, breathable, even." Emily paused, double-checking her readings. It's as if the ship was left in a state of suspended animation, waiting for someone to claim it. Commander Tanaka's tactical analysis painted an equally intriguing picture. "The weapon mounts are unlike anything I've ever seen. They're not energy projectors like Kraxen tech, but something else entirely. And the defensive systems." She shook her head in amazement. "If I'm reading this correctly, the hull doesn't just absorb energy. It redirects it into its own power grid." Sarah made her decision. "Prep the boarding team. We have 10 days before the Kraxen reach Earth. That's 10 days to figure out how to wake this sleeping giant." The boarding operation went smoother than anyone expected. The ship's airlocks recognized their presence and cycled automatically, as if welcoming them aboard. Inside, massive corridors stretched into darkness, illuminated only by the team's lights and occasional pulses of deep purple energy running through translucent conduits in the walls. "The architecture is remarkably humanoid compatible," Emily noted as they made their way toward what they hoped was the bridge. "Almost too compatible." Marcus checked his navigation display, which was having trouble mapping the internal space. "The internal dimensions don't quite add up. It's bigger on the inside than the outside measurements would suggest." "Quantum spatial manipulation," Emily suggested. "The same technology they used for the hull, but applied internally." These builders weren't just advanced, they were masters of space-time itself. The bridge, when they found it, defied expectations. Instead of traditional control stations, they found a vast circular chamber dominated by a central platform surrounded by floating crystalline displays. As the team entered, the room seemed to sense their presence. Lights flickered to life, and the crystals began to pulse with internal energy. "This is incredible," Emily breathed, approaching one of the crystal displays. "The entire ship operates on quantum principles. It doesn't just use quantum computing. It exists in a quantum state. That's how it maintains power after all these years. It's drawing energy from quantum fluctuations in space-time itself." Sarah stepped onto the central platform, and the ship responded. Holographic interfaces sprang to life around her, displaying information in an alien script that somehow felt familiar. "Can anyone read this?" Emily studied the symbols. "It's not a language in the traditional sense. It's mathematical. Universal constants expressed as visual patterns. They wanted anyone who found this ship to be able to understand it." As they worked to decipher the ship's systems, Commander Tanaka made a startling discovery in what appeared to be the ship's archive. "Admiral, you need to see this. I think I know why this ship was abandoned." The holographic records showed beings of pure energy locked in battle with creatures that seemed to bend reality around them. The energy beings, presumably the ship's builders, were losing. "They call themselves the Luminary," Emily translated, her voice filled with awe. "They built this ship, the Quantum Forge, as a last resort weapon. But something went wrong. The quantum manipulation technologies they developed had an unintended side effect. They began to draw the attention of something else, something that lived in the spaces between realities. Sarah watched the records with growing concern. Are you saying this ship might attract those same creatures? No, Emily said, studying more records. The luminary found a way to shield against them. That's what the quantum field around the hull does. It keeps us hidden from whatever exists out there between dimensions. But they couldn't save themselves. They were already infected, changing. So they left this ship behind, hoping someone else might use it more wisely. A sudden alert from the Starweaver interrupted them. Admiral, Marcus called over the comm. Long-range sensors just picked up something. The Kraxan fleet. They're ahead of schedule. They'll reach Earth in 7 days, not 10. Sarah looked around at her team, then at the vast ship they'd awakened. They had 7 days to master technology that had taken its creators eons to develop. 7 days to save humanity. Then we have no choice, she declared. Emily, get me operational control of this ship. Tanaka, I want weapons and defensive systems understood yesterday. Marcus, plot us a course back to Earth. She placed her hand on one of the crystal interfaces and felt the ship respond to her touch, its quantum systems resonating with her intention. The Kraxan think they're hunting us, she said, watching as the ancient vessel's systems came alive around them. Time to show them what it feels like to be the prey. The quantum forge cut through space like a blade through water, its quantum drive systems performing beyond anything they had imagined. Emily's team had barely scratched the surface of understanding the ship's capabilities, but even their limited control was proving revolutionary. We're moving at roughly 100 times the speed of our fastest ships, Marcus reported from his jury-rigged navigation station. They'd managed to interface some human technology with the ship's systems, creating a hybrid command structure they could actually use. At this rate, we'll reach Earth in 36 hours. Sarah nodded, studying the tactical display. The Kraxan fleet was visible now. Hundreds of ships moving in their characteristic arrow formation. Their energy weapons had devastated human forces in every previous engagement, but the quantum forge's sensors revealed something they'd never been able to see before. Look at this, Commander Tanaka said, highlighting the energy patterns around the Kraxan ships. Their weapons don't just fire energy beams. They create localized areas of quantum destabilization. That's why our shields never worked against them. They weren't breaking through our defenses. They were changing the fundamental nature of space around them. Can we counter it? Sarah asked, though she already suspected the answer. The luminary wouldn't have built this ship without defensive capabilities. Emily's eyes lit up. Better than that. The forge doesn't just defend against quantum manipulation. It masters it. Their weapons literally feed our power systems. The more they attack, the stronger we become. A sudden alarm cut through their discussion. Contact, Marcus called out. 3 Kraxan cruisers just dropped out of FTL. They're on an intercept course. Sarah straightened in the command chair. Time to test our theories. Battle stations. The Kraxan ships moved with their usual precision, spreading out to create a triangular kill zone. Their hulls bristled with weapon ports, each capable of reducing the human dreadnought to its component atoms. They're charging weapons, Tanaka reported calmly. Energy buildup suggests a full barrage. Sarah felt the ship's systems responding to her thoughts through the neural interface they'd established. The forge seemed almost eager for combat. Hold position. Let them fire first. The Kraxan attack came in a blinding wave of purple-white energy. Under normal circumstances, it would have been enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The beams struck the forge's quantum field and simply vanished. Emily's console erupted with readings. Power absorption at 300% efficiency. The ship isn't just blocking their attacks, it's converting the energy directly into quantum computational power. Our systems are actually getting smarter. Now it's our turn, Sarah said, her mind connecting with the ship's weapon systems. Target the lead vessel. Minimal power. A single point on the forge's hull pulsed. There was no beam, No visible projectile, just a subtle distortion in space. The lead Kraxan cruiser simply ceased to exist, leaving behind not even debris. The bridge crew fell silent. They had just witnessed the complete removal of a Kraxan capital ship from reality itself. The remaining two cruisers immediately changed course, attempting to retreat. "They're sending out a general alert," Marcus warned. "The main fleet will know about us soon." "Let them run," Sarah ordered. "We need time to understand what we just did anyway." "Emily, what exactly happened to that ship?" The scientist was still analyzing the data. "The weapon, it didn't destroy the cruiser in normal space. It shifted it into a quantum state where all possible configurations of its matter existed simultaneously, then collapsed that state to nowhere. It's not just gone. It never existed in our timeline. The luminary built this ship to fight something that existed between realities," Tanaka mused. "Makes sense their weapons would work on the same principle." A new alert caught their attention. "Admiral," Marcus called out, "I'm picking up a transmission. It's from Earth. The Kraxan fleet has accelerated. They'll reach the Sol system in 24 hours. Sarah felt the weight of command settle more heavily on her shoulders. They had a weapon that could theoretically save humanity, but using it meant wielding power they barely understood. Power that had driven its creators to abandon it. "Plot an intercept course," she ordered. "And Emily, I need to know everything about these weapons before we reach Earth. The Kraxan aren't the only threat we need to worry about." As the Forge moved to engage the main Kraxan fleet, strange readings began appearing on Emily's instruments. The quantum field around the ship was fluctuating, creating patterns that shouldn't have been possible. "Admiral," she said quietly, "I'm detecting echoes, like something's watching us through the quantum field. Something old and hungry." Sarah stared into the void between stars, wondering if the luminary's ancient enemies had noticed them yet. They had awakened humanity's salvation, but had they also awakened something else? Something that had been waiting 10,000 years for someone to turn the key. The quantum forge raced toward its destiny, carrying within it humanity's last hope and perhaps its greatest challenge. The true test wasn't just defeating the Kraxan. It was proving that humanity could wield godlike power without succumbing to its corrupting influence. And in the darkness between realities, ancient eyes opened, sensing the ship's awakening. The real war was about to begin. The Quantum Forge's command center had changed. What started as crystalline displays and holographic interfaces had evolved into something more organic, more alive. The quantum computational systems were learning, adapting to human thought patterns and needs. But with that evolution came disturbing changes. "The power signatures are becoming unstable," Emily reported, her face illuminated by the pulsing purple light that now seemed to emanate from the ship's very walls. "It's not just generating energy anymore. It's creating quantum distortions throughout the local space-time." Sarah watched as reality itself seemed to ripple around the ship. Through the main viewport, stars flickered like candles in a wind that shouldn't exist in vacuum. "What's causing it?" "Us," Emily said simply. "Our use of the weapons against the Kraxan cruisers. It did more than just destroy them. Each quantum collapse created a tear, like we're punching holes in the fabric of reality itself." Commander Tanaka's tactical display showed the approaching Kraxan fleet, now less than 12 hours from Earth. But between the red dots representing enemy ships, strange anomalies were appearing. "The tears aren't healing," she observed. "They're spreading." A sudden surge of power ran through the ship's systems. The neural interface Sarah had been using to control the vessel flooded her mind with images, memories, but not her own. She saw the luminary, beings of pure energy and thought, as they discovered the quantum technologies. She watched as they built the forge, their greatest achievement. And then she saw what came after. "They didn't abandon this ship because they were losing a war," she gasped, pulling away from the interface. "They abandoned it because they finally understood what they were fighting." Emily moved to support her commander, but stopped as her instruments began registering massive energy spikes. The quantum field is collapsing. Something's trying to break through. The ship's archive systems activated automatically, projecting images throughout the command center. The true history of the Forge played out before them. The Luminary hadn't created weapons to fight an enemy. They created them to seal breaches in reality. The entities they fought weren't invaders from another dimension. They were the universe's immune system, responding to the damage caused by quantum manipulation technology. Every time we use the weapons, Sarah realized, we're making it worse. The Luminary built this ship to repair the damage they'd caused, but by the time they understood the truth, it was too late. They were already changing, becoming like the entities they'd drawn here. Marcus's navigation console erupted in warnings, multiple quantum distortions forming. The Kraxan fleet, they're altering course, moving away from the tiers. Through the viewport, they could see it now. Where the weapons had erased the Kraxan ships, space itself had begun to unravel. And in the gaps between reality, something moved. Shapes that couldn't exist in three-dimensional space, consciousness that operated on principles beyond human comprehension. The Kraxan, Sarah said, understanding finally dawning. They're not invaders. They're containment. They've been trying to stop us from developing quantum technology because they've seen this before. They're preventing us from making the same mistake as the Luminary. The ship shuddered as another tear formed nearby. The quantum field that had protected them was failing, and the entities it had held at bay for 10,000 years were finally breaking through. We have a choice to make, Sarah announced, looking at her crew. We can use this ship as intended, seal the breaches, repair the damage. But doing so would mean sacrificing our advantage over the Kraxan. We'd be giving up our only weapon against them. Emily's instruments showed more tiers forming throughout the solar system. If we don't seal them soon, it won't matter. These entities, they don't just destroy. They unmake. Everything they touch becomes like them, existing in a state our universe was never meant to support. Sarah returned to the neural interface, feeling the ship's systems respond to her touch. The Forge had been built for this purpose, not to wage war, but to heal the wounds in reality. The Luminary had failed because they tried to use it as a weapon instead. Send a message to Earth, she ordered. Tell them we finally understand. And we choose to fix this, even if it means we lose everything else. As the crew prepared for their new mission, a transmission cut through their communications. It came from the lead Kraxan vessel, but it wasn't in their usual encrypted format. For the first time, they were broadcasting in the clear, using a language humans could understand. The message was simple. You begin to see. Perhaps there is hope for your species after all. Sarah looked out at the torn fabric of space, where impossibilities leaked into their reality. They had found their salvation, but not in the way they'd expected. The real question was, could humanity accept the price of true understanding? The quantum forge hung in space between Earth and the approaching Kraxan fleet, its hull now rippling with quantum distortions. Through the viewport, reality itself seemed to be unraveling. Tiers in space-time, spreading like cracks in glass, each one leaking impossible geometries and consciousness beyond human comprehension. The tiers have reached Mars, Marcus reported, his voice tight. The colony, it's gone. Not destroyed, transformed. The quantum cascade is accelerating. Sarah stood at the command interface, watching as more of the Luminary's memories filtered through the neural link. She now understood the full scope of what they faced. The entities weren't trying to destroy. They were trying to evolve reality itself, pushing it toward a state of higher quantum complexity, a process that would erase humanity as surely as a hurricane erases footprints in sand. The Kraxan fleet is holding position, Tanaka announced. They've created a containment perimeter around the solar system. More ships are arriving. Emily's fingers danced across her console, correlating data from the ship's ancient archives with their current readings. The Forge's original purpose. It's not just about sealing the tiers. It's about balancing the quantum states between realities. The Luminary designed it to be a bridge, not a weapon. Can we still use it that way? Sarah asked, though she already suspected the answer. The ship's systems were showing her possibilities, paths they could take. Emily nodded slowly. Yes, but there's a cost. The quantum harmonization process requires an anchor point, something to stabilize the realities as they rebalance. The luminary, they tried to use their own consciousness, their own reality. That's what changed them. Admiral, Marcus interrupted, transmission from Earth. The quantum distortions are reaching the outer colonies. We have less than an hour before they hit the atmosphere. Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the weight of history pressing down on her. Through the neural interface, she could sense the entities beyond the tiers, not malevolent, but utterly alien. They were the universe's antibodies, responding to the wound that quantum manipulation had created in reality's fabric. The Kraxan knew, she said quietly. All this time, they weren't trying to conquer us. They were trying to prevent this. Every civilization that develops quantum technology eventually draws their attention. The Kraxan are the survivors, the ones who learn to live within the limits of conventional physics. Admiral, Tanaka said, the Kraxan fleet is signaling again. They're offering assistance. They say they can help evacuate Earth. Give us a chance to start over. If we prove we can make the right choice. Sarah looked at her crew, the best of humanity, facing the end of everything they knew. We didn't come this far to run, she said. Emily, prepare the quantum harmonization process. I'll serve as the anchor point. Sarah, no, Emily protested. The consciousness integration, it'll transform you, just like it did the luminary. You'll become something else. No, Sarah smiled, understanding flowing through her from the ship's memories. Not if we do it right. The luminary failed because they tried to force reality to match their desires. But humanity, adaptation is what we do best. She turned to her crew. This ship isn't just a tool. It's a bridge between states of reality. The entities aren't our enemies. They're the next step in universal evolution. We can't fight that change, but we can guide it, shape it, make it something that preserves what makes us human even as we transform. The ship's systems responded to her understanding, displays shifting to show new configurations. The quantum field could be modified, turned from a barrier into a convergent matrix. With the right consciousness as a guide, the transformation could be controlled, directed. Send word to Earth, she ordered. Tell them to prepare for change. Not an ending, an evolution. Humanity won't die today. We'll become something more, but we'll do it on our terms. As the crew rushed to implement her orders, the Kraxan fleet began to move. Not to attack, but to support, their ships forming a lattice around the solar system, their own quantum technology synchronizing with the Forge's systems. They had seen this moment before, had guided other species through this threshold. But humanity was choosing a different path than any that had come before. Sarah felt the ship's power building around her, the neural interface deepening until she was one with its systems. Through it, she could sense every human in the solar system, every mind about to face transformation. The entities beyond the tiers watched, curious about this new approach to evolution. Ready, Emily reported, her voice thick with emotion. Quantum harmonization in 3, 2. Remember, Sarah said, her last words as a purely human consciousness. This isn't an end. It's a beginning. Humanity's greatest adventure. The quantum forge pulsed once, brilliantly, its light visible across the solar system. The tiers in reality didn't seal. They transformed, becoming bridges rather than moons. And through those bridges flowed understanding, evolution, change. Humanity didn't vanish that day. They transcended, becoming beings that could exist in multiple states of reality while maintaining their essential nature. The Kraxan welcomed them not as conquered foes or rescued victims, but as equals who had found their own path to the future. And in the vast spaces between dimensions, where the entities had once been seen as monsters, new voices began to speak. Human voices, carrying human dreams into realms of existence their ancestors could never have imagined. The quantum forge still drifts in space, no longer needed as a weapon or a tool. Instead, it serves as a monument, a reminder that humanity's greatest strength was never in its ability to fight, but in its power to understand, adapt, and grow, even if that growth leads them beyond the very stars themselves.